Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shahab Karni from the television studios of I-95. I'm here with a very exciting story from last night. You all saw Vice President Pence accepting the nomination, and suddenly the First Lady, of course, and the first gentleman, the President was there. But to connecting and to fill us in, I have a very amazing young leader from the Republican Party. We are so proud of her. She was there firsthand. So we're going to hear from her. Her name is Maria Sofia. She is the president of the Young Republican at the state of Maryland. Welcome, Maria. How are you today?
Good. I'm great. How are you, Shahab?
I'm good. You still look excited. So,
It was a great night.
all
It
right.
was
So,
a
what
great
happened
night.
last night? Give us some recap.
Sure. So, obviously, if you watched the entire convention, you saw several speakers from around the country, including South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. You saw Senator Marsha Blackburn, and you saw obviously the president's daughter-in-law Lara Trump as well speak. Which was a great night because last night also marked the 100th anniversary to the day that the United States allowed for women's suffrage, the 19th Amendment's passage, which was a great way to commemorate that 100th anniversary, being there with both the president and the vice president, with a bunch of fellow Americans and veterans. But the theme of last night was our land of heroes. So the vice president spoke about obviously our military heroes and how America is full of them, and how it's not just the heroes that you would think of, but it's everyday heroes as well. With everything going on with the COVID-19 pandemic, we have our first responders, we have our military heroes. There were several veterans of the United States Armed Forces there, including Wounded Warriors, Purple Heart recipients, and Medal of Honor recipients as well. So it was a very humbling experience, and I got to meet a couple of them as well before the event. So it was wonderful.
Good. So, how much time did he spend, the president, the first lady?
So the president and when the president and first lady got there, everyone was obviously super excited. When they came through the tunnel at Fort McHenry, they played the presidential anthem, and he came out. They probably stayed there at least almost an hour, I would say. It was probably, we didn't even start, wrapping up or heading out until almost midnight. So it was probably at least 45 minutes, where first thing that the president said was, I want to talk to these veterans. And so he came off the stage and everyone was like, oh my gosh, he's actually going to come and talk to everyone. But because of COVID-19, he couldn't, get super close, which was fine, but he stayed 6 feet from the barrier. And he talked to the veterans for a good 5 to 10 minutes and just thanked them for their service, and which was just an amazing way for them to cap off their evening. And then everyone started kind of getting closer and realizing, oh my gosh, he was going to do this. So I and 5 other of my YRs just pushed to the front of, the other side of the barrier. So we let the veterans have the one side. And then we had a line of about 6 young Republicans on the receiving line, including the college Republican chairman, Matt, who's a very good friend of mine. And we just, lined them up, and he and First Lady Melania Trump, and then the Vice President and Second Lady Karen Pence followed. And he just talked to each of us and thanked us for being great Americans and for the support that the Republicans in Maryland had done given him as well. So it was just really great. They all were incredibly gracious. It was just one of those nights where you're I wasn't able to shake the president's hand, but in any other circumstance I would have been. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, he stayed 6 feet, but he still we got to turn around and take selfies and pictures with him. I got to take a couple as well. So it was just wonderful. And
Yeah,
again,
I noticed that the body language from him was very exciting, very cordial,
mhm,
it was that you feel that he has charisma, and he was connecting with the people, even
yeah,
without touching them. Would you agree with that? So even without,
absolutely.
so he was touching with the people. Now, for most of you, wasn't this a surprise that he's going to show up?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had known earlier in the evening, but the bulk of the audience did not know. Um, and when he came out, there was actually there's actually a candidate for Baltimore City Council. We had a couple of them there, and one of them literally started jumping up and down, so excited. And one of them yelled, "Mr. President, Baltimore loves you!" And he actually clapped his hands and pointed to the councilman and said, "Thank you." So yeah, it was the energy there when he came out. It was unlike anything I think I've really experienced, because it was very cool, honestly, if there's really no other way to put it.
Now, coming back to you, Maria, I mean, I know you're heading the Maryland Young Republicans,
Mhm.
and I've seen almost for last 30 years a lot of conventions and everything, but this is the first time I personally noticed their appreciation for the young Republicans on the
Mhm.
forefront. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Our Republican Party here in Maryland has been such a partner with our young Republicans to really build the Republican Party. And one of the things that I love about our Republican Party, especially here in Maryland, but it is across the country, is the is recognizing that our party is more than just one group of people. It is We have young Republicans that are Black, Hispanic, they come from all different backgrounds, and we have just an amazing group of young Republicans that I really do feel represent the Republican Party across this country. And it's not just here in Maryland, but it's across the country, like I said, because I know that there are a record number of Republican women that are young Republican chairs in their respective state. We have some amazing people that have just, joined the organization in different states as well. But it is not just one group of people. And our state party here in Maryland really recognizes that. And I just hats off to them for the great partnership. We had the Black Republican Council seated with us, the college Republican chairman, candidates for Baltimore City Council, which we have a record number of not only young Republicans running for Baltimore City Council. We have actually four young Republicans running for council that are like have put their hat in the ring, which is incredible. But no, it's really wonderful to see that the party of Lincoln, is one that cares about everyone. And the vice president really did talk about that last night as well.
Big tent, big tent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So parties coming back to the big tent concept. Why I say so? Because when I remember Bob Dole was running, Hallie Barber used to be RNC chair, Jack Kemp was still alive, and we used to preach the big tent concept.
Mhm.
But I don't know, something went wrong in between, that's fine. But I think people like you or the emerging leaders, the young Republicans, you guys are amazing and practicing that. Now,
Yes.
coming back to the current campaign, because we are just some weeks away from the November 3rd D-Day, we hear a lot of negative words, negative stories about President Trump, the Republican Party, that this is a party, inner circle is racist, party for only whites, party, they hate minorities. What do you have to say?
So, I mean, I think the vice president actually really touched on this last night, and it was something that was one of my biggest takeaways from the speech. Is he spoke about the just the party coming together, but he also spoke about, you know, standing with our law enforcement, standing with African Americans that, are troubled, and that they feel that, government hasn't been working for them and hasn't been helping them. So I really thought when the vice president talked about that, he would stand with law enforcement, but he also stood with his, and this isn't an exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing, our African American brothers and sisters who have felt that this country hasn't been fairly, been there for them, which I thought was fantastic. And it was so nice to hear either the president, but in this case, the vice president say that he's for all Americans and that the Republican Party is for all Americans. And we are getting to that bigger tent, which I think is so important. And for us to be able to recognize that, there are people around this country that feel like that they have been either disenfranchised or that they haven't been given a fair shake, but that this administration wants to give that to them truly and honestly, and has done that and has proven that through record unemployment numbers, through job opportunities at record numbers, and getting this economy back on track and having America be first again. It's truly one of the great things about this country that I've seen over the past 4 years is that the country has come together. We've put Americans to work, and we've also been able to unite the Republican Party as well in the process.
So you agree on one thing, that the politics should not be about color of skin or religion or
Absolutely.
whatever I believe in, but about the public policy issues,
Mhm.
debate,
Absolutely.
solutions, conversation about solving issues rather than talking about my color, your color, somebody else's color.
Mhm.
That's negative. That's not good for great America.
I completely agree. I
Yeah.
completely agree. And the other thing about that too is the fact that that rhetoric is out there that the Republican Party isn't for that. It is concerning that the other side of the aisle is trying to make this about race or the color of your skin or whatever it may be, and
Scare politics.
it's very
Politics of
divisive.
scare. Yeah.
It's very
All
divisive language, and especially in a time that we're dealing with right now in this country, where we need to come together. That rhetoric it's not helpful, and it doesn't help us accomplish anything when we need to move this country forward, and we need to continue putting policies out there that help all Americans, which this administration has done, and I'm confident will continue to do if they're elected in November.
Now, Maria, another question, that during this convention, during this period, I see one slogan, religious freedom,
Yes.
as the platform. So, can you tell us, I mean, why so much focus on that?
Well, I think there's been a focus on that because there's just been a lack of talking about it. And the president and the vice president recognize that, religious freedom is very important. And unfortunately, across the world, we've seen religious persecution continue, and where people have not been allowed to express their religion, no matter what it is. And I think as the president and the vice president have traveled around the world, they've seen it continued, and they understand that that is something that Americans should be proud of, that they have the right to, freely express whatever religion that they are. And I think it's almost just a recognition here that religion is important. And, I myself am a Catholic, and I practice my faith, and I have friends that are of all other religions. And it is important that we recognize that religion is something that grounds us. It brings us back to our roots, our families, and it allows people to also unite and unify and come together as a community as well. And I think America is this big country full of small coming together in those small communities. And that
All
includes
right.
our faith communities as well. It is
Thank you.
important that we recognize that there are so many others.
Maria, on a very short notice, I'm so grateful that you were able to join and give us a recap from last night. But before you leave, I have a final question for you.
Sure.
How long you're going to be leading Maryland Young Republican? What's your tenure?
So I was elected last year, and I'm starting my second year. My reelection, so I'm running for reelection, which will be summer of next year, and it's another 2 years. So if I get reelected, I'll be in the position a total of 4 years. But that is the max that they will allow you to be as a state chairman in Maryland, because we have term limits, which I think is very important.
The reason I ask you that question, finally, trust me, this is going to be the final one, that under your leadership, what will be your plan for future, wherever during your tenure, to run young Republican at different local elected offices? That's
Yes.
very important and critical for public policy debate and creating a momentum. I mean, so what will be your idea on that?
Sure. So I ran on the platform a year ago to start building our young Republican chapters. When I took over, we didn't have very many local chapters. In fact, we only had two. And now I'm proud to say we have over 15, and we have almost one in every part of our state. So that was my platform for the first term. my platform for the second term when I run next year will be to not only grow our party further, but to unite those chapters. And I think it's really important. As they say, Maryland is little America. It is a nickname Maryland has. So we have all different kinds of Republicans all over the state. So coming together and understanding that there are different kinds of Republicans and different degrees of conservatism. But if we're able to work together and elect candidates in the 22 election cycle, which is which is our next election in Maryland, then we'll be able to successfully not only be a grassroots organization, but be an organization that elects Republicans as well.
Thank you, Maria Sofia. You have been very, very informative. I'm so grateful. And state of Maryland Republican Party or the Young Republicans are lucky to have you as their leader.
Well,
God,
thank you.
you know, good luck to you for future and God bless America. Thank you once again.
God
Thank
bless America.